Box A contains 4 balls numbered 1, 2, 3 and 4 respectively. Box B contains 3 balls numbered 1, 2 and 3 respectively, and Box C contains 2 balls numbered 1 and 2 respectively. Gwen selects one of these boxes at random and then selects a ball at random from that box. We want to determine the probability that a ball numbered 1 is selected. So, this is a tree diagram question. First thing we're going to do is pick a box. We have 3 possible options. We have box A, box B, or box C. Probability of picking each is equal, so the probability of A is a third, probability of B is a third, and probability of C is a third. Now we can look at the ball picked. The temptation in this question is to look at all the options of all the numbers that can be picked, but actually all we're interested in is whether we pick a number 1 or not. So when we pick box A, all we really want to look at is probability of a 1 given it come from A, which is a quarter, or the probability that it is not a 1 given that it come from A, which is 3/4. We can then do the same for box B. So the probability that it's a 1 given that it came from B is 1/3, and the probability that it's not a 1 given that it came from B is 2/3. Finally, we look at what happens in box C, and we have probability that it's a 1 given that it came from C is a half, and probability that it is not a 1 given that it is come from C is also a half. Okay, we can now look at the outcomes. So outcomes, the possible different outcomes that we can have is probability that it is came from A and we get a 1, which is a third times a quarter, which is a 12th. We can have the probability that it came from A and it was not a 1, which is a third times 3/4, so 3/12. We can have the probability that it was box B that was picked and a 1, which gives us a third times a third, which is a 9th. And the probability that it was B and not a 1, which is a third times 2/3, which gives us 2/9. And finally, the probability that we had a C and we picked a 1 was a third times a half, which is 1/6, and probability that it was a C and not a 1, which is a third times a half, which is also 1/6. Having constructed our tree diagram, we can now go back and answer our questions. So part A, probability that a 1 is picked. Well, this is the probability of picking it from A and getting a 1, which is 1/12, plus the probability of picking it from B and getting a 1, which is 1/9, plus the probability of picking it from C and getting a 1, which is 1/6. When I enter this into my calculator, we get a probability of 13/36. Okay, where do I get my method marks in this question? Well, the method marks actually come from this part here, leading up from multiplying these two probabilities. So a method mark and accuracy mark is given for the use of the tree diagram and then identifying this use of total probability. Then we have an accuracy mark for getting the answer 13/36. Part B says, given that the number ball numbered 1 is selected, determine that the probability that box A was selected. So we're working backwards now. So we're looking to find the probability of A was selected given that I have picked a 1. So this is going to be the probability of A intersect 1, so the probability of picking a box A and the number 1 from it, or over the probability of actually picking a number 1. So I'll put these values into my formula. So probability of A intersect 1 is 1/12. This is then over the probability of actually picking a 1, which is 13/36. And when we work that through, we get an answer of 3/13. And it's always best to leave, like this one up here, leave these as fractions because they are exact representations of the probabilities. How do we get our marks in this question? Well, first of all, this fraction here, we get a statement mark if the numerator is correct, we get a statement mark if the denominator is correct, and then finally we get a standalone statement mark if we get the 3/13 as a final answer. Okay, I hope that all made sense and that you were able to understand it.